July 1683. Over 150. 000. Ottoman troops encircle Vienna. The city's garrison numbers fewer than 15. Ling ling ling. For 2 months, a vast network of trenches, mines, and disease strangles the Habsburg capital. The defenders are exhausted. Their supplies gone. Their commander, Ernst Rüdiger von Starhemberg, is down to his last desperate hope. A relief army, the Holy League, is massing. The fate of Central Europe hangs on a single battle. Now, let us analyze the timeline. That almost was. In our history, the Battle of Vienna, fought on September 12th, 1683, was a decisive turning point. The Christian Holy League, led by the Polish king, Jan III Sobieski, arrived on the heights of the Kahlenberg, overlooking the besieged city. Their charge, the largest cavalry charge in history, broke the Ottoman lines and saved the West. But history turns on moments of profound fragility. Our point of divergence, our Jonbar Hinge, is not a grand strategic decision, but a simple, fatal alignment of friction and chance. In this alternate timeline, the assembly of the Holy League is stalled. The complex political maneuvering between Sobieski and the German princes, particularly the Elector of Saxony, over the formal chain of command, results in a critical 24-hour delay. As this political friction occurs, a torrential autumn storm, far more severe than the rains in our timeline, sweeps across the Danube basin on September 10th. The Vienna woods, the final obstacle for the relief army, become an impassable morass of mud. When we analyze 17th century warfare, we must acknowledge the tyranny of logistics. As the military theorist Karl von Clausewitz would later articulate, friction is the force that separates war on paper from war in reality. In this scenario, friction triumphs. The heavy artillery of the Holy League, essential for supporting an infantry advance against a fortified besieger, is hopelessly mired. The army is delayed by a further 48 hours. For the Ottoman commander, Grand Vizier Kara Mustafa Pasha, this delay is a divine gift. In our timeline, he made the critical error of underestimating the relief force, splitting his army to fight both the city and the advancing league. Here, the view from his command tent is different. The signals from the Kahlenberg are weak, disorganized. His scouts report a scattered, struggling enemy. He makes a new, logical calculation. He will ignore the disorganized threat in the hills and commit his entire force to the primary objective. On the morning of September 12th, the day Sobieski should have charged, Kara Mustafa orders the final, overwhelming assault. For weeks, his sappers have tunneled beneath the city's key bastions. The Lobel and Berg bastions are shattered, but Starhemberg's men have miraculously held the line. At noon, the largest mine yet is detonated beneath the Berg bastion. The explosion is catastrophic. It does not merely wound the wall, it creates a breach wide enough for a company of men to charge through abreast. The air is thick with limestone dust, and the screams of the wounded through this gray, choking cloud. The green and red banners of the elite Janissary Corps appear. They pour into the city, not as a trickle, but as a flood. The defenders, starving, diseased, and numbering perhaps only 4,000 effective soldiers, are routed in under an hour. The street-to-street fighting is not a defense, it is a slaughter. By 3 p.m. on September 12th, 1683, the Ottoman standard is raised over the Hofburg Palace. Vienna has fallen. The psychological impact is immediate. The pillar of Habsburg power, the golden apple, is lost. From the heights, Sobieski and Charles of Lorraine watch helpless. As columns of black smoke rise from the city center, the great St. Stephen's Cathedral is engulfed in flame. The Holy League, now arriving piecemeal, faces an impossible tactical situation. They are an offensive army, designed to relieve a siege, not conduct one. Kara Mustafa. His political standing in Constantinople, now secured by this monumental victory, does not wait. He deploys his formidable Sipahi cavalry and the bulk of his infantry outside the walls, using the captured city and its vast stores as his fortress. The city's cannons, now controlled by Ottoman gunners, are turned against their liberators. The Battle of Vienna becomes the disastrous Battle of the Kahlenberg Slopes. The Holy League, exhausted, demoralized, and lacking artillery, is broken. The news of the fall shatters their coalition. The German princes scatter, racing to protect their own lands. Sobieski's army begins a long, chaotic retreat toward Poland. The road into the Holy Roman Empire is, for the first time, wide open. The fall of Vienna is not merely a military defeat. It is a systemic shock to the entire political ecosystem of Europe. The ripple effects begin immediately, cascading outward from the smoldering Habsburg capital in Constantinople. Grand Vizier Kara Mustafa Pasha, who in our timeline was executed in Belgrade for his failure, is now the greatest hero of the age. He sends the keys of the Kuzul Elma, the Red Apple, to Sultan Mehmed IV. The political stability this victory provides to the Ottoman court is profound. The costly, draining 16-year Great Turkish War, which in our timeline would bleed the empire's resources and lead to the Treaty of Karlowitz, never happens. Instead of retreat, the empire enjoys a new era of expansion and consolidation. Vienna itself is transformed. It becomes Bej, the new capital of Ottoman Central Europe. The Hofburg Palace becomes the residence of the Pasha. St. Stephen's Cathedral, its spire damaged, is not destroyed but repurposed. This is a powerful symbol, a projection of permanent Islamic power deep into the German-speaking world. The city, now a forward military and administrative base, serves as the logistical linchpin for all future operations into the Holy Roman Empire. The immediate Habsburg collapse is total. Emperor Leopold I, having fled to Linz, is now an emperor without an empire, a monarch in permanent exile. His authority evaporates. The year 1684 does not see the formation of a new Holy League, but the total unraveling of Habsburg hereditary lands. The Kingdom of Hungary is the first to fall. In our timeline, the victory at Vienna allowed the Habsburgs to reconquer all of Hungary. Here, the opposite occurs. The Hungarian magnates, led by the Ottoman allied Imre Thukoli, throw their full support behind the Sultan. The small Habsburg-controlled sliver of Royal Hungary is overrun. The entire Carpathian Basin is now securely and permanently under Ottoman suzerainty. From Vienna, Ottoman conjurators light cavalry launch devastating campaigns deep into Bohemia, Moravia, and Silesia. When we analyze the economic data of the period, these lands were the financial core of the Habsburg patrimony. Now, they are a war zone. The great cities of Prague and Breslau are not attacked directly, but their trade routes are severed. They are cut off, isolated, and forced to pay crippling tribute. This brings us to the splintering of the Holy Roman Empire. The imperial diet at Regensburg descends into chaos. The Habsburg faction is leaderless. The other German princes, witnessing the failure of the Holy League and the total collapse of imperial power, resort to self-preservation. Bavaria. Maximilian II, Emmanuel, seeing Vienna fall, abandons the imperial cause. He signs a separate, humiliating peace with the Pasha of Bes, effectively becoming a neutral buffer state. His primary concern now being the fortification of Munich, Brandenburg, Prussia. Frederick William, the Great Elector in Berlin, sees this as a distant, southern problem. He formally withdraws his remaining forces to protect his own territories, focusing his energy on his rivals in Sweden and Poland. Saxony, John George III, having barely escaped the rout, retreats to Dresden, guarding the Elbe. The Holy Roman Empire, as a collective security mechanism, ceases to exist. It is a fractured, terrified patchwork of principalities, each now vulnerable. But the most significant second-order consequence is not in the East, it is in the West. We must turn our gaze to Paris and to King Louis XIV of France. For Louis, the fall of Vienna is the greatest geopolitical gift imaginable. His mortal enemies, the Austrian Habsburgs, have been decapitated by his informal ally, the Sultan. In our timeline, Louis was already waging the War of the Reunions, annexing territories on his eastern border. The Christian victory at Vienna, however, created immense diplomatic pressure. Pope Innocent XI branded Louis's opportunism as sacrilegious, and the Sun King was forced to accept a truce. In this new timeline, there is no truce of Ratisbon. There is no check on French ambition. Louis is unbound. We must analyze this moment through the lens of 17th century raison d'etat, or reason of state. Louis's objective is the absolute security and hegemony of France. He now moves to achieve it. In 1684, he does not just blockade Luxembourg, he annexes it, and the entire Spanish Netherlands. Modern. Try. Again. His armies, led by the brilliant tactician Vauban, meet token resistance from a declining Spanish empire, which can expect no aid from its shattered Austrian cousins. Brussels, Antwerp, and Ghent all fall under the French crown. Simultaneously, he pushes the French border permanently to the Rhine. He secures not just Strasbourg, seized in 1681, but all of Alsace, Lorraine, and the Rhenish Palatinate. The German princes, their backs to the advancing Ottomans, are powerless to stop him. When we compare this new timeline to our own, the contrast is stark. Our 18th century was defined by a balance of power. The rising power of Austria, after 1683, Great Britain, and the Dutch Republic repeatedly formed coalitions to contain French expansion, leading to the 9 Years' War and the War of the Spanish Succession. In this new timeline, no such balance is possible. The Dutch Republic, without a strong Austrian buffer in the Spanish Netherlands, the Dutch now share a direct, undefended border with an aggressive, hegemonic France. Their golden age ends abruptly, overshadowed by existential terror. England, engaged in its own internal struggles, the exclusion crisis, the later Glorious Revolution. It is unable to project power onto a continent now dominated by two superpowers, Poland-Lithuania. King Jan III Sobieski returns not as the savior of Christendom, but as the monarch who led Poland's finest army to annihilation. His political authority is destroyed. The Polish nobility, the Szlachta, distrusting the monarchy, accelerate the Commonwealth's descent into anarchy. The nation is now fatally squeezed between a resurgent Ottoman south and an aggressive Brandenburg Prussia to the north. Russia, the Tsardom of Russia, under the regency of Sofia Alexeyevna, with the young Peter the Great in the background, had ambitions in the south. In our timeline, the Habsburg-led Great Turkish War allowed Russia to join in, launching the Azov campaigns. Here, the Black Sea is an impenetrable Ottoman lake. Russia's southern expansion is stifled for a generation. By 1690, the map of Europe is redrawn. It is a continent of two titans. In the west, the French Bourbon dynasty is supreme, its authority stretching from the Atlantic to the Rhine. In the east, the Ottoman Empire is a resurgent force, its new border running from the Carpathian Mountains, through the Vienna woods, and deep into the heart of Germany. Between these two empires lies a shattered, depopulated, and impoverished Central Europe, the engine of the Enlightenment, the scientific revolution, and the industrial age, which in our timeline was forged in the crucible of this balanced European state system, is now in profound jeopardy. We move forward to the year 1730. The new European order, forged in the fires of 1683, is now entrenched. The continent is defined by two vast, stable, and culturally dominant spheres of influence, separated by a weak and fractured German heartland. In the west, there is the French hegemony, the reign of Louis XIV, which in our timeline ended with a kingdom bled dry by the War of the Spanish Succession, here concluded as the most triumphant in European history. His successor, Louis XV, presides over an unchallenged Imperium Francorum. The Spanish Netherlands are fully integrated provinces. The Rhine is a domestic French river. French is not merely the language of diplomacy. It is the sole language of science, philosophy, and high culture from Madrid to the borders of Brandenburg. The Dutch Republic, its golden age extinguished, is a French satellite. Its commercial power subservient to Paris. Great Britain, having navigated its own glorious revolution, is isolated. Without its continental allies, the Habsburgs and the Dutch, it cannot form the grand alliances that defined its 18th century foreign policy. It remains a significant naval power, but its focus is turned inward and toward the Atlantic. It is an island kingdom on the periphery of a continent, dominated by a single, absolute power. In the east, there is the Danubian Caliphate, which, as Vienna is now universally known, is one of the great cities of the Ottoman Empire.
We must hurry.
A western capital to rival Istanbul. The golden apple has been fully digested. The Hofburg is the seat of a powerful pasha who rules over all of Hungary, Bohemia, and Moravia. This new Ottoman sphere is wealthy. It controls the entire Danube, the great commercial artery of the continent, the vast agricultural surplus of the Hungarian plain, and the mineral wealth of the Carpathians flow south and east. This infusion of resources, we can infer, provides the Ottoman state with a new stability. The internal decay and military stagnation that characterized the empire in our 18th century are postponed. There is no sick man of Europe. The empire is a robust, confident, multi-ethnic power, its authority unquestioned from the Adriatic to the borders of a partitioned Poland. Between these two titans lies the crush zone. The Holy Roman Empire is a geographic expression, a memory. The German states are weak, depopulated, and impoverished. There is no rise of Prussia. The Hohenzollern rulers in Berlin are minor potentates. paying tribute to both Paris and Besse to guarantee their fragile existence. The intellectual and cultural dynamism that, in our timeline, produced Leibniz, Bach, Kant, and Goethe is stillborn. Now, we must apply our final analysis. What is the ultimate consequence of this new, stable, dual hegemony? When we analyze the Great Divergence, the historical phenomenon of Europe achieving global technological and economic dominance, many scholars, including the historian Paul Kennedy, have rooted its cause in a specific, unique condition: the competitive state system. In our timeline, the 18th century was an age of relentless, multipolar competition. Habsburgs, Bourbons, Hohenzollerns, Romanovs, and the British Parliament were locked in a constant, high-stakes struggle. This rivalry, this fragmentation, fueled an unprecedented arms race of innovation. To survive, states had to promote new forms of finance, scientific inquiry, and military technology. In this new 1730, that engine of innovation is silent. France, under an absolutist monarchy, has no peer. It dictates culture. It does not compete. The Ottoman Empire, traditionally conservative, absorbs its vast new wealth without fundamentally altering its socio-economic structure. The need for radical innovation, the catalyst for the Enlightenment and the Industrial Revolution, is gone. The Enlightenment, therefore, does not blossom as a radical, transformative force. It becomes a domesticated phenomenon, a tool of statecraft for the French court. Its more dangerous ideas of popular sovereignty and individual liberty suppressed. The scientific revolution, which was gaining momentum, slows. Without the rivalrous patronage of competing states, its practical application, the steam engine, industrial chemistry, precision manufacturing, is delayed by a century, or perhaps forever. The 19th century of this timeline would not be an age of steam, capital, and revolution. It would be an age of enduring empire, agricultural economies, and absolute monarchy. The global dominance of the West was never inevitable. History is not inevitable. It is a fragile chain of moments, any one of which could have forged a different world. The balance of power that defined the modern age was never guaranteed. It was, perhaps, merely the fortunate outcome of a single, desperate cavalry charge. In the rain, outside the walls of Vienna,